So tell me about Mal Hombre and tell the story about you know something about Come Again.
Yeah, okay. Mal Hombre was, his name was John Geraci was his real name, and he was the senior advisor. He was a colonel, full colonel, and my boss. And so Mal Hombre was a really interesting guy. He was just unbelievable war fighter, and like when he came down to take the job, it was very early in my time there. Got in a helicopter, went out and started shooting people, shooting Viet Cong with a pistol. I mean, from the air, from a helicopter. I mean, he was just loved war.
How old was he? Had he been in? Was he old enough that he had been in the Korean War? Or was this his
I
first
don't know
war?
if he'd been in the Korean War, but he was probably 10 years older than I was, and he was just a war fighter. I mean, that was his.
He was like the movies.
And the words Mal Hombre, most of you would know, is bad man. In communications, you have code names for units, but most of them are like pink orchid or blue butter or things that didn't match up like that. But that, like for instance, the first platoon, they would communicate blue butter. This is red flour. Okay, we need some support here. We need some evacuation from the helicopters to pick up 3 dead and 4 wounded. So that's how they communicated. The purpose of that was the enemy couldn't identify the unit that it was by blue butter or whatever it is. So anyway, that wasn't good enough for Mal Hombre. Mal Hombre, 6 is the number for any commander. So I'm just making this up as far as the code names, but he should have been something like Green Cactus 6 for the helicopter. This is Green Cactus 6 would have been what he should have been, like that. Not for him. He was too much of a fighter. He was Mal Hombre, bad man, and just a tough guy.
So he selected that name himself.
He selected that name himself.
That wasn't just a nickname that people called him because he was
that
bad.
was his radio call sign. So I'm with Mal Hombre. We had gone to a place called Canto together for some intelligence thing. And anyway, on the way back, we had an operation going on at that time. So we're entering the area where he wanted to communicate with him on the ground.
And you're in a helicopter?
In a helicopter. And the guy on the radio was a strange guy. He was a National Guard officer that had probably been recruited, not recruited, but called up to go to Vietnam, just like they do today, with Iraq and Afghanistan. Anyway, so he's on the radio, and he's kind of a crazy guy, as I say. So Mal Hombre gets on it, Red Cactus 6, this is Mal Hombre, over. Okay. Mal Hombre, this is Red Cactus 5. That's the guy that's kind of running the radio weird. So Mal Hombre says, give me a sit rep, situation report. He wants to know what's going on. So anyway, who's winning and what's needed and all that. He wants a complete situation report. So the guy starts, I'm in a helicopter listening to all this, see. So the guy says, he starts talking like I'm talking right now, He obviously doesn't know what's going on. And believe me, in a war, there's a lot of times you don't know what's going on. It's not very cut and dry. It's very confusing. But if you think about it, you can understand why it is. You don't know what's going on. everybody knew what was going on, war would be perfect. Well, war is so far from perfect. So anyway, he says, Mal Hombre says, this is Mal Hombre, and he ripped this guy apart. He just called him everything imaginable, and with some pretty rough language too. But he just got all over him. So then he said, over. When he gets done, he says, over. Pause. And the voice comes back, and the guy says, Mal Hombre, say again. And say again is military for, I didn't understand what you said, please say it all again. And it was, like I say, or like I feel, like you had to be there. It was